Hi, it's Leslie in Tennessee, and we are in early August. The garden has been kind of interesting this year because I've made some major changes in how I grow. Instead of doing a lot of low-calorie summer crops like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, things like that, I decided to get those types of crops in a little bit earlier in the season and have July and August kind of a low maintenance garden focused on letting the sweet potatoes grow, and come later in July put in some edamame, just trying to keep it a little more low maintenance for me. And now that fall is coming in, I love this time of year. It's time to think about cabbage and lettuce and spinach and cilantro and some late season cucumbers and zucchini and oh my, so many wonderful things, greens and kale, things that can be grown at this time of the year and into the winter months. This year our major challenge, surprisingly, has not been squash bugs but rabbits. We've had 3 nests in our raised beds, and they like to eat sweet potatoes, and they love to eat the bean seed when they start popping up through the ground. We have kind of tackled that by using our shade cloth as fencing, and it actually has worked fairly well for us. Now we still have some blank spots, and that's going to be for a late season potato, and again some of those crops that I just mentioned. But today I want to show you what's going on in the greenhouse. So let me just turn this screen around. It is cooking hot in here. Today it is about 84 degrees outside. I've got the greenhouse open and it says it's about 108 or 10 in here, as it has been most days, even though we do have it open. So I wanted to start my sweet potato slips, which I did. Harvested those sweet potato slips and then just decided to leave the sweet potatoes that I was growing for the slips in the back raised bed, which is only about 1 foot wide. And so those have kind of taken off and are doing quite well. Then I keep my aloe vera in here. And then I have my stevia back here. Now, someone gave me a stevia plant, a year or so ago, and it came in a little pot in the mail, and it did not make it very well. I had it here in the greenhouse, it shriveled up and died, and then I decided to cut it all the way back to the ground, and it grew back. And then I made cuts of it and let those root in water, and now I have quite a few stevia plants here. This one in the pot's not thriving as well as the ones in the raised beds, but they're doing very beautiful. And the nice thing about these is, like any herb, the more you cut, the more they grow. So they seem to be thriving in the intense temperatures here in the greenhouse, and I'm thankful for that. I had basil growing outside, and I wanted to get rid of that whole entire plant, so I just cut that, and those are drying here on the shelf along with some others. And pretty soon the greenhouse will be cleaned out except for the stevia. The sweet potatoes I'll probably harvest in September, and then this main 4x9 spot will be for winter greens. I think I'm probably going to go ahead and put carrots and beets out under hoops this year. Now what I did with the stevia that I recently cut is I have some large window screen here, I'll show you, and I lay them across the top of the bed like this, so they're not touching the growing mix at all, which is Mel's mix, because I do square foot gardening. And I lay the herbs on there to dry, and they dry rather quickly because it is rather intensely hot in here, and we have the low windows open, and then we have the back window just barely cracked. That way we kind of get a draft upward, and then I keep the door barely opened. Now let's go outside and take a peek. So here is the stevia. I started stripping it from the plants and decided, well, maybe I'll show you what I'm doing. So the stevia has been cut and been drying in the greenhouse for about a week, although I probably could have taken it in a few days ago because it dries rather quickly in there. Let me show you how I strip it from the sticks. And now I'm simply taking the stevia and stripping it off of the stalk. Now some of them are not as dry as I would like to be. This is not crumbly. It's still a little bit damp. So after I strip this all, I'm going to go ahead and put it in my dehydrator briefly just to finish off the drying process so that it will store really well. But it's cleaning up really great, really easily. A lot of it is very crispy and ready to go. You can just kind of break it off. If it doesn't break off, then we will finish drying it inside. And then probably what I'll do is give it a coarse grind. And then if you make teas, like I make teas, I like making medicinal teas. And I use the stevia as the sweetener. So when I put the oat straw or shaved grass or red clover or what else do I use sometimes? I can't think right now. Some of the things that I use. But I'll put them in the pot to steep, and then after they steep, I just pour it through a sieve into my measuring cup, because I usually make about 4 cups at a time. And the stevia helps sweeten up that tea without any calories or any actual sweetener per se. Stevia has a lovely flavor. You don't need a lot. If this is ground up into the consistency of what you might find in a tea bag, you only need a pinch or so per cup. It's stripping so nicely here. And then after I get done with this, I may go ahead and do the basil as well, although it didn't look quite as dry. I find that basil is one of those herbs that takes longer to dry than some other herbs. But this is looking really good, and I'm thinking that this year I'll go ahead and cut the stevia plants down to the ground in the fall, and then next spring I imagine that they will pop back up again just like they did this year. But from one plant I now have about 6 beautiful plants that I cut and then come back in about a month, and they're nice and bushy again and ready to harvest more stevia. So even though the plants originally are a little bit expensive, you can produce multiple plants from that one stevia plant. And then you know you're getting a real nice product of stevia. You can buy stevia powders, and you can buy stevias mixed with other products, but this will give you a pure stevia blend. So I hope that will inspire you to maybe try growing some herbs. Find a place where you can dry them. There's also nice hanging bags that you could get that have a mesh all around them with 5 or 6 shelves in them and zippers to keep out any insect pests that you can hang in your attic or in another warm place. And I use that, and that also works fantastic. So, God bless you, and remember, you were created to live in the garden.